124 teams to go on my road to predict all 131 teams this college football offseason. We're on now to the Tennessee Volunteers, and they have a lot of buzz about this team coming in to the 2022 season. This is a team that should be pretty solid on the football field, but it's a team that people are kind of hoping can have sort of a breakout year under Josh Heupel. So can Josh Heupel provide that breakout year for this Tennessee team, or will there be a lot of sad feels in Rocky Top in 2022? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel, and hey, I'm predicting all 131 teams this offseason, which means I'm predicting your favorite team. So if you could, subscribe, ring the bell so you know when your favorite team is uploaded and on my channel. Again, we're going conference by conference, doing this power ranking style. And a message goes out to the Tennessee fans in this video, but in case you guys want to watch any more of my videos, you guys are going to know a lot more about your favorite team than I will. So if you guys feel like you have anything to add, or you feel like I missed something, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll be sure to look it over, maybe give you a like on that comment. So let's talk about Tennessee in 2022. They are my 7th ranked team in the SEC coming into this year. And it was simple. They had a very good year last year, and they were very good offensively. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But they were 7-6 last year, 7-5 in the regular season, 4-4 in conference. That's not a bad record at all when you play in a conference like the SEC. And Tennessee had a pretty good year last year. This offense was 3rd in the SEC in yards per game with around 475. Also scored almost 40 points a game, which is the 2nd most prolific offense in the SEC last year in terms of scoring, only behind that of Alabama. The defense, though, that's where this Tennessee team could use a little bit of work. They were 4th worst in the SEC, 400 yards per game allowed, along with 27.5 points. Definitely need to improve on the defensive side of the ball. But all in all, was still a really good year for Tennessee last year under Josh Heupel. And you can definitely tell his offensive mindset, right, in Josh Heupel bringing into this Tennessee program. Let's look at what Josh Heupel has coming back, but also we got to look at what Josh Heupel is losing off this Tennessee team first. And it starts off with quarterback Harrison Bailey. Only had 16 yards last year, didn't play much, but it's a name I could throw on there, so he is gone. Tion Evans is gone off this team. 525 yards and 6 rushing touchdowns last year. Was I believe the 2nd running back in that room, behind the guy you see down there that we'll talk about in a little bit. Wide receiver room. This is where they start to lose some talent. Velus Jones and Javonte Payton are gone. Velus Jones had 807 yards, 7 touchdowns, and Javonte Payton had 413 yards and 6 touchdowns last season for the Volunteers. So there's a lot of production leaving that wide receiver room. Offensive lineman Caden Mays gone as well. And on the defensive end, lots of names gone off the defensive end. When you're looking to improve your defense and you see this many names gone off your defense, not really that good of a sign. Matthew Butler, Aubrey Solomon, Aaron Willis, Morvin Joseph, and then a guy that I really liked was Alante Taylor. Had 60 tackles, 6 passes defended, 2 interceptions last year. They're also losing another talented defensive back, Theo Jackson, Tyus Fields, gone there as well. So some production leaving this team for sure. But Josh Heupel still got a lot of nice pieces to work with. Hendon Hooker comes back. He was that primary quarterback last year for Tennessee after the Joe Milton experiment didn't really work out. Almost 3,000 passing yards with 31 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. A very good season for Hendon Hooker last year. The former Virginia Tech prospect, of course, transferring last year. Running backs Jabari Small, who was the leading rusher last year with almost 800 yards and 9 touchdowns, along with Jalen Wright, figured to be the 2 running backs back there. Lots of offensive talent coming back at the wide receiver position as well. Cedric Tillman was the leading receiver with over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. He comes back, as well as Jalen Hyatt was the 4th receiver in that room last year. And they get a huge wide receiver transfer in Brew McCoy over from USC. That is huge for this Tennessee team. Now they have 2 phenomenal weapons out there with Cedric Tillman and Brew McCoy. Couple tight ends coming back, and on the defensive side, some names coming back. You get your leading tackler, Jeremy Banks, back, 128 tackles last year. Also, Aaron Beasley coming back, was your second leading tackler. Defensive backs, Trayvon Flowers and Jaden McCullough were very, very good for this Tennessee team last year as well. A couple guys on the defensive line coming back as well. So this Tennessee team returning some pretty good talent, in my opinion. I still do think that defense has got to get better. There's good talent there, but it's got to take some steps forward this year in order for Tennessee to take steps forward. But I think this offense is going to be one of the best in the SEC, if not one of the best in the country. Let's look at Tennessee's schedule in 2022, and it looks like this. They start off looking at the non-conference games. It's a home game against Ball State, home game against Akron, and a home game in the middle of the season against University of Tennessee Martin. But there's a tricky road game in there. You got to go on the road to face the reigning ACC champs, the Pittsburgh Panthers. That is not going to be an easy game to win by any means for this Tennessee team. When you look at the SEC schedule, you got home games against Florida, Bama, Kentucky, and Missouri. Road games against LSU, Georgia, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. A little preview of the schedule before we get into percentages. They should be able to win all of their non-conference games except that Pitt game. That Pitt game, going to be one of the better games to watch in terms of non-conference games this offseason. But this Tennessee team, they have the offensive firepower to match Pittsburgh. They just need the defense to roll in there to be able to stop that Pittsburgh team. That's going to be a very, very interesting game to watch. Looking forward to that one in week 2. When you get into SEC play, though, it's an okay SEC schedule, and I think it's going to work out pretty solidly for this Tennessee team, as you'll see by my prediction here in a little bit. Home games, again, you avoid playing Florida in the Swamp. Good. You get Florida at home. You get Alabama at home. Now, that's a very interesting game because it's college football, and upsets can happen. And although Tennessee probably not going to have a real shot against Alabama, they get the game at home. They get the game in Rocky Top, and that's going to be a hard environment for Alabama to play in. Of course, you got to play Georgia on the road. That's going to be a tough one. You got to play South Carolina on the road. That's going to be a sneaky tough game. You got LSU on the road. That's another tough environment. But you also get Kentucky at home, and Kentucky figures to be one of the better teams in the nation this year. So getting them at home, that's a big win for Tennessee. I don't do game-by-game predictions. I do a more percentage-based outlook to help me predict the team's record. If the game's in red, you're probably not going to win the game. If the game is in orange, still probably not going to win. But hey, it's college football, and upsets can happen. If the game is in yellow, those are your 50-50 upset potential games. Yellow-green are games that you should probably win, and games in green, you're probably going to end up winning those games. 3 games in green, those are the 3 non-conference games I talked about. The games in yellow-green against Missouri and Vanderbilt should be able to pull those 2 games out easily for Tennessee as well. Now, when you look at the SEC schedule and the game against Pitt, it's all in yellow or orange. The games that are in orange, pretty self-explanatory here. The game against Alabama, Alabama's just got a stupid, ridiculous amount of talent, and you'll see when I do my Alabama video. Same with the Georgia video once I get there, but Georgia playing them on the road. Tennessee might be able to put up a fight for a quarter or 2, but again, on the road against Georgia, that's just a hard environment, especially when you got to go on the road and play the defending national champions. That's never an easy thing to do. When you look then at that Pitt game, again, I've mentioned it's all about the Tennessee defense this year, right? If that Tennessee defense can come in on the road at Pitt and play a really, really good game, they could walk out of there with a W. In fact, I'm actually, believe it or not, leaning towards Tennessee in that game. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Tennessee winning that game on the road against Pitt. Pitt is losing a lot of talent, and that Jordison Addison transfer definitely has affected my decision. But they're bringing in talent as well. Keaton Slovis is in at quarterback for Pitt. So you never know. Pitt could be right back in the ACC championship game this year. They definitely have the talent to do so. But Tennessee is a team that's going to give a lot of teams fights this year, and that could be a game that could come down to the wire. So I'm kind of leaning Tennessee there in that one, especially if this defense makes massive improvements in week 1 against Ball State. In terms of the rest of the schedule in the SEC, the 4 games you see highlighted in yellow, we'll talk about the 2 games on the road, because the 2 games on the road, probably 2 games that Tennessee may be underdogs in, although they might be favorites against LSU and South Carolina. But they're two tough places to play, and South Carolina definitely has the talent to be able to pull off some upsets this year. Again, getting Spencer Rattler. I've already done my South Carolina video. And then that road game there against LSU. That's going to be tricky as well. What's nice, though, is you get your bye week after that game. Or, excuse me, you get that bye week before the game against LSU, after the game against Florida, which you get at home. Look, Florida's got a Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback back there, so they could give him a fight. But again, Tennessee's defense hinges a lot on the season. Home game against Kentucky, same thing. Kentucky is a hard-nosed defense. Tennessee can score a lot of points. That's going to be a fun matchup to watch. I know I've said it a lot in this video, and I'm sorry if you guys feel like I'm repeating myself way too much, but I'm going to say it one final time. This season for Tennessee hinges on how good this defense can be. If the defense can take 3 steps up and be phenomenal, Tennessee can be a 10-2 team this year. I really do believe that, but if the defense kind of stays stagnant, Tennessee can take a slight step back from their season last year and go 6-6, especially if some of the offensive talent just isn't there like it was last year. But I see Tennessee right in the middle of those two predictions. I see Tennessee going 8-4 this college football season, coupled with the offensive talent, and especially if that defense can improve. This can be a special season for the Tennessee Volunteers. However, just with the uncertainty of that defense, I don't think there's a whole lot of doubt that the offense is going to be there for this team. It's just a matter of whether the defense can follow suit. So 8-4 is what I got for Tennessee in 2022, and thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure you guys leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all that. But remember to play hard, tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.